So the NYPD is increasing patrols in the subway to make it safer. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says crime in transit dropped more than 5% last year, but she admits many people still don't feel safe taking the trains. Now, with a potential increase in subway ridership from congestion pricing and going beyond increased patrols, what can officials do to make New Yorkers feel more safe? Joining us now, CBS News law enforcement contributor and former deputy commissioner with the NYPD, Richard Esposito. Richard, great to have you here this morning. Of course, the first answer you hear from a lot of people is, well, if the news media would just stop telling us about all these crimes, we would feel safer. Obviously, that is not the solution. But what was your reaction to those crime stats released by the mayor and the police commissioner? And then we'll get to what can actually be done.
Well, I have some pretty strong feelings about those stats, Chris. A 5% reduction is 126 reported crimes. Millions of people ride the subway. They don't feel, it's not a perception of being at risk. People are at risk. If you rode the subway today, the Arctic weather is making it worse. There's a huge influx of homeless people with tents, with shopping carts. People are walking on the edges of platforms. They're scared. So what do? It's not about crime. It's about disorder. And they need to police the disorder. And that is where the statistics really don't comfort anyone who rides the subway.
You bring up a great point, because it's not just about the actual crimes committed. It's about it's your overall feel, your sense of security when you go underground. You brought up a great point. It's colder. Now, all the troubled individuals are making their way below ground because of course, it's not as cold down there. And you've got this population of people that aren't paying attention. Everybody's face is in their phones. They got their earbuds in. We constantly tell people, just keep your head on a swivel if you want to feel a little bit safer down there. But, we report on the crimes. We've seen the video. We've talked about some huge high-profile cases that are happening right now with subway crime. I mean, even talking to people about congestion pricing yesterday, a lot of them are like, I'll pay the toll. I'm not going underground. So how do you kind of change that narrative? It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
It's not something that's going to happen overnight, is correct. And congestion pricing, it's interesting. It's a tax. And it's a tax with a promise. The promise is they're going to fix things later. And the city can ask a question now. What is the state doing today to help? What is the state doing for the MTA and the TA today to help increase the safety and comfort of the riders? It is also their responsibility. And the police, their tactics, surge tactics, are those the right ones for disorder? I think those are things Commissioner Tisch has to look at and say, what's our approach to the disorder problem, not a problem of major crime categories, which are not what people are scared of.
The start of congestion pricing, as I mentioned, and the colder temps bringing, obviously more people, good and bad, down into the subway system. Aside from, as you said, the influx of police and the governor, sending the National Guard to certain areas and whatnot, what more can be done? Because the perception, as you mentioned, is widespread. So I'm just trying to think, what can be said or what can the city do to make the average person who either lives in the city and uses it every day or is coming from the outer suburbs to you, how do you make them feel a little bit more reassured that, you're not going to, end up being pushed into the tracks when you go to the subway?
A steady, visible presence of law enforcement is a good step. Whether it's state police, whether it's National Guard, but go down there, and reporters should go down there every day and say, what are we seeing? Are we seeing the state police? Are we seeing the National Guard? The mayor and the police commissioner should talk to the cops who ride the subway, and they're throwing up their hands in many cases and saying it's not worth us taking this person off the train. They need guidance as to what they need to do. There's several things we can do, and they will work. You can reduce disorder and increase public comfort that they're safe. We're not doing it yet. Yeah,
it's funny because when you do talk to people and they say, well, seeing police down there or seeing it does make me feel safer knowing that the authorities are in the area. But there's only so many cops that you can put on the subway. That's they still have a lot of work to do above ground. Yeah.
It won't happen in a minute, but it's really got to be a steady pressure on this. And it is really uncomfortable to ride a train where somebody's playing a radio really loud, somebody else is pushing a shopping cart. You get off the train and you get on a platform and you can't get to the middle of the platform because it's filled with people.
Yeah, And that's the one thing the MTA's got to do. I mean, if they're going to start hitting people with congestion pricing over the head and raising fare, they better make it safe down there. I mean, that's, I think the argument begins and ends right there. We don't care about nice new subway cars if we're unsafe on them or we're getting pushed in front of them. You better be safe when you're on that platform. All right, Richard, thank you. It's great to see you. As always, Happy New Year to you, although I know this is officially the last day I'm allowed to say Happy New Year, but it's the first time I'm seeing you. So, I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Clear the whole platform right there. All right, good to see you. Richard joins us every Wednesday, as you know. For more on crime stats in our area, head to our website, cbsnewyork.com.